So I was still battling. You know what? This technology is like sometimes it's a bit tricky. But anyway, I'm fine now.
It's consolidating my position, Father. I thought I was the only one.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's good to join you. Sorry, let me go to. No? Where are you? No, I'm connected. Yes. Okay.
We go to co-speaker.
I've got some of these young guys, you know, they keep me on my toes all the time. Technology. Which is good, you know. It only goes to show that you never stop learning until you die.
Until you are recorded.
There's always something new.
Madam Speaker, are you there?
We can't hear the Madam Speaker.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, because the laptop was taken by IT guys. They told me they have sorted it out. So I hope the problem was sorted, unless they give it an improper diagnosis, doc. If the diagnosis is not correct, then the remedy won't be correct.
Then you must change your doctors.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting now. We are 4 minutes after the starting time. And as I welcome you, and I also welcome all our viewers, I just want to make our panelists aware that we are live on social media. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Twitter. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Dr. Fundile Nyati's platforms. We are also live on the speakers' platforms. The agenda for today will be as follows. It will be opening and welcome by the Speaker of Council, Nongceba Mulwele. Number 2 on the agenda will be the COVID-19 stigma in our society, which will be outlined by Dr. Fundile Nyati, who is the medical doctor and a CoJ partner. Number 3 will be the Madiba legacy and moral regeneration, which will be outlined by Father Smangaliso Mkhatshwa, who is the chairperson of the moral regeneration movement. And we'll have towards a compassionate, kind, and morally just society and the role of the faith-based organization, which will be outlined by the following pastors: Pastor Lindy Mhlabane from the Johannesburg Faith-Based Organization, Pastor Jinja Nkafu from the Faith-Based Organization. We'll then have discussions and we'll have closing remarks by the Chair of Chairs, Councillor Mulauzi, who is the Chair of Chairs in the city of Johannesburg. With that, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. July marks the commemoration of our beloved former and late president, who was the first democratically elected president in South Africa, Utata uMadiba Adalibunga. Over the years, his birthday, endearingly termed Mandela Day, which is on the 18th of July, and it has been celebrated the world over, yonke le minyaka, by doing good deed for at least 67 minutes in honor of ilegacy kaTata. As we move towards celebrating our beloved Tata this year, unfortunately, we move with heavy hearts, having learned of the sudden passing of his daughter, Mama Uzinzi Mandela, who was an activist in her own right and South Africa's ambassador to Denmark. I would therefore, ladies and gentlemen, panelists, like to request for a moment of silence for prayer and or meditation before we begin the show yethu yanamhlanje, in order to honor Umama and the loving memory kaZindziswa Mandela, who will be laid to rest tomorrow morning. If we could just take a few minutes and observe a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hamba kahle qhawekazi lethu. May your soul rest in perfect peace. Fellow compatriots, July is indeed a powerful month in that not only is it Madiba's month, it also marks the commemoration of the Moral Regeneration Month, which is an initiative of the Moral Regeneration Movement. For those who have not heard of this movement, it is a movement that is driven by civil society and aimed at encouraging people to recommit to the efforts of building communities that are grounded on positive values. We know that these days we have a society and a generation that has lost the principles and the values of Ubuntu. It is the rededication to building a caring society in pursuit of creating lasting peace and prosperity in our country. The Moral Regeneration Movement takes place to coincide with Mandela Month, rightfully so, because it is the former late President Mandela who inspired this movement and was the main leader of its formation. I think Ufada Smangaliso Mkhatshwa will tell us more about this. So today, as we face the storm, that is the COVID-19 pandemic, we note with sadness the rise in stigmatization of those who are infected with the virus and takes us back to a times when HIV and AIDS was still a new disease in the country. During those years, stigmatization was rife around AIDS, and in some communities, people were killed if they disclosed or were suspected of being HIV positive. But Utata did the most incredible act in addressing the issue of stigma at the time, in that he too, having lost his son to HIV/AIDS, decided to use the death of his son to actually destigmatize the HIV/AIDS. I think we all remember. So in the spirit of Utata Madiba, it became imperative for us to engage with our key stakeholders and partners. Do you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, to look at how in facing this pandemic, we can draw from the wisdom, from the courage and anti-stigmatization mindset of Utata Madiba, who used the difficult circumstances to fight this stigma. In conversation today, Dr. Fundi will talk to the issue of the rising stigma of COVID-19 as we head towards the peak of the pandemic. Ufada Smangaliso Mkhatshwa will then take us on a journey of understanding Utata Madiba, legacy yakhe, values zakhe, morals, and the birth of the Moral Regeneration Movement in njengoba besenditshilo, and a look at how he would have led at this time, Utata of COVID, based on his leadership during the tenure of his life in general. We will then bring it closer to home, given our circumstances around COVID-19, and begin to ask ourselves, based on what we know about Madiba, how each and every one of us, individually or collectively, can move towards being more compassionate, more kind, and morally just in dealing with those who have SCC4. But importantly for me, ladies and gentlemen, was to bring in the role of the faith-based organizations to this aspect, because iinkokheli zethu zakwalizwi are in a unique position to mobilize moral authority on issues, to influence indlela esicinga ngayo, generate debate, and set standards of others to follow. So without further ado, my special guests today are none other than Ufada Smangaliso Mkhatshwa, who is a man of many accolades, but most notably, he served in the first Democratic Parliament in 1994 and was later appointed Deputy Minister of Education. He was the Executive Mayor Yasetwane, the Chairperson Yesalga, and was elected President we-UCLG, which is Omaspala belizwe lonke. After consultation with Nelson Mandela, Father Mkhatshwa championed the launch of the Moral Regeneration Movement in 2002 with the late Cedric Mason and serves as its current chairperson. Father Mkhatshwa, we are honored to have you join us today, and we really look forward to drawing from your well of wisdom. Welcome, Tate. We know uba sizawufunda lukhulu kuwe namhlanje. Kuthiwa indlela ibuzwa kwabaphambili. Doc would say, isiziba siviwa ngodondolo. We are joined by the leadership from the Johannesburg Faith Organization, as I have mentioned them. I'm not going to mention them again, except to say that Mhlabane is the founder and the president of a women's organization, ebizwa ngokuba yiWailing Women Worldwide, and is the senior pastor of Apostolic Gospel Church Centurion. And Utata Unkafu is an attorney by profession and a staunch member of the Roman Catholic Church. Welcome to you, faith-based leaders. We are very grateful to have you present to contribute to this very important discussion, and always availing yourselves whenever we call unto you. You don't only serve your congregations, but you serve the nation and you serve the people of Johannesburg. We have none other than our Madam Chair of Chairs of Johannesburg, legislature, and my second in command. When the speaker is not there, she becomes the deputy speaker, Councillor Umlauzi, who without fail continues to support us week in and week out. Madam Chair, you are most welcome. Also welcome Councillor Matsidiso Mfikwe, who is the chairperson, Simbizo chairperson with service delivery. Because when there is no electricity in Soweto, we call her. When there is no water, we call her. When there are problems with the refuse collection, we call her, because she's doing oversight on these departments that are very important in our lives. Mam Fikwe, you are most welcome. We also have our very trusted and committed partner, sesimbiza ngokuthi partner of CoJ, Dr. Fundi, who is a medical doctor. Not only does he assist us in creating these platforms and educating our communities from an IT infrastructure point of view, but in instances where we need the view of a medical expert, much like today, he swiftly steps in to get the conversation going. Doc, we are ever so grateful today and welcome, and you are indeed a great partner. So at this juncture, let me hand over to you, Doc, Dr. Nyati, who will give us the context of the COVID-19 stigma in our society. Ladies and gentlemen, you are all welcome. Over to you, Doc.
All right. Thank you.
But let me also welcome my office, the office of the speaker.
Yeah.
Nontlakani Zamba and Sipo and all other members in the speaker's office who are working at the background. There are others who are on Facebook, they are working at the background. Without them, the speaker will be ineffective. I see we are joined by Pastor Nongaba Musunkutu. You are most welcome, Pastor Musunkutu. We are really honored to have you on this show today, and we are looking forward to your contribution. Thank you very much. Dr. Nyati, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon to everybody, all the panelists. Utata Usmangaliso Mkhatshwa, Mr. Boni Nkafu, Umamfundisi Unonqaba Musukutu, Chair of Chairs, Umamusalfina, Ukomrit Mfekwe, Lindimo Tlhabane, Nina Bahadur, Noneo Chaka. and also to all the people who have connected to listen to us. Well, you know, like you said, Speaker, today, tomorrow, no. On the 18th of July, which will be on Saturday, it will be, you know, Tata Matiba's birthday. And it's a day that generally is used to reflect on, you know, a number of things in our society, and also ask ourselves, what would Matiba do? Now, at this point, worldwide, we are battling the, you know, pandemic of COVID-19. It's a pandemic that has put everything on standstill. It's a pandemic that is caused by a very new virus that has never attacked a human being before. That's why we call it a novel virus. You know, at the WHO, they call it a SARS-CoV-2 virus, but the disease itself is called COVID-19 because it's caused by a coronavirus, you know, and it causes a disease that sometimes can be deadly. So because it's a new virus, there's so much that is known, and also there's so much that is not known. And that has created a situation whereby there is a lot of social stigma associated with this, you know, condition. And I thought I should refer back to a report that was issued by UNICEF on the 24th of February this year, where they had picked up already that globally there was a rising levels of social stigma across, you know, in the countries where there was already a problem of COVID-19. Here in South Africa, we had our first case on the 5th of March, which was almost 3 months, you know, after it was discovered in China. Now, one would ask, what is this social stigma in the context of health? Well, social stigma, it's a negative association between a person or group of people who share certain characteristics and a specific disease. In an outbreak like this one, COVID-19, this may mean that people are labeled, people are stereotyped, people are discriminated against, people are treated separately, and sometimes they may experience loss of status because of perceived link with the disease. And that treatment of discrimination and stigmatization can negatively affect those with the disease, as well as their caregivers, family, friends, communities. And people who don't have the disease but share other characteristics with this group may also suffer stigma. We saw a few people already around February. If they saw somebody who's of Chinese descent, you know, they would actually chase them out of a shop, you know, because people just associated COVID-19 with anybody who is actually coming from the East, especially, you know, China and the surrounding countries. And that kind of treatment was actually part of what we're talking about, social stigma. So this current outbreak has provoked social stigma and discriminatory behavior against people of certain ethnic backgrounds, as well as anyone perceived to have been in contact with the virus. Now, so the impact, therefore, of this stigma is that it drives people to hide the illness so that they can avoid discrimination. It prevents people from seeking healthcare immediately. It discourages people from adopting healthy behaviors. And so now that we are faced with this, it's important as a country to reflect back. It's not the first time we are going through a stigma. There was the problem of stigma during the height of the HIV and AIDS pandemic in the early 2000s. And like you said, Speaker, some of the influential people in our country, including late Madiba, actually decided they will fight stigma head on by actually disclosing that their family members had died of HIV, so that people do not think that you know, it was for a certain group of people. Now, when we come to COVID-19, we also are experiencing the same. You know, we've heard of people in KZN who were very unhappy that their local hospital was used as a quarantine site for people with COVID-19. They actually closed the services in that hospital. We've heard in Skukuni, in Limpopo, where people were very angry, against the family, where one of the, family members who was the husband, actually experienced a lot of discrimination. And even after that person had been buried, there was a lot of discrimination. We're hearing a lot of discrimination in and around Cape Town and also here in Gauteng. So as a result of that, it's important that we highlight this issue. We use this time and say, what would Madiba do where there was a problem of discrimination? Well, for us to fight this, we need to look at three things. We need to look at the words that we use, because words matter. We need to play our part to try and deal with the stigma. And we also need to deal with miscommunication. There's been a lot of miscommunication, and that's causing a lot of confusion out there. For example, we've heard from Trump saying this is a Chinese virus. Now, by saying that this is a Chinese virus, you are already stigmatizing all people of Chinese descent, or you say it's an Asian virus. So we need to be able to be mindful of the words that we use. If we are talking about people who are having, or living with COVID-19, who are being treated for COVID-19, we must not refer, to those people as victims of COVID-19. We must say these are people who have COVID-19, people who are being treated for COVID-19. If people are suspected, of having, contracted the virus, we don't say COVID-19 suspects. We must say people who may have COVID-19. So the words we use are very important. But more importantly, looking at the panel that is here today, is for us to know that stigma is heightened where people have got insufficient knowledge, because people tend to fear what they don't know. And so let's spread the right facts. That's one thing. Two, people of high standing in society who can influence society, like religious leaders, it's important for them to actually play a leading role in destigmatizing the whole issue of COVID-19. Be able to address that proactively when they've got platforms, and ensure that there's support to those who are actually infected with COVID-19. Use of celebrities where possible to try and drive the message home. And we also need to make sure that we deal with any stigma or stigmatization of ethnic groups where people think that is for people who are from this ethnic group. And the journalists themselves, who are very powerful using their pens, they need to be very careful about the words that they use. So the point here I'm trying to say is that this is a rising problem, and it's actually creating problems because then people are hiding their status. People are then infecting others in the course of hiding their statuses on COVID-19. We need to all collectively make sure that we inform ourselves and then spread the information, the right kind of information, and deal with issues of stigma and discrimination in society. With those words, Speaker, I was just trying to create a context that social stigmatization linked to COVID-19 is unacceptable in a country like South Africa or anywhere else in the world. And so we need to all play our part to deal with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc. Indeed, we need to play our part as a society to deal with the stigma. I don't want to waste more time. I would hand over to Father Smangaliso Mkhatshwa, and then we'll have discussions after all the presenters have presented. Father Mkhatshwa, on the moral regeneration. Please unmute, Father. Father is still muted. Father is muted. Father is still muted. Father? Or I'm the one who has a problem?
Here it reads.
Dr. Fundi, you are also muted. We can't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, no, I was saying Father must unmute himself. Let's not try to assist him so that we don't send different signals.
Could I suggest that you continue with the program in the interest of time?
No, you are good now.
I'll be the third speaker. I don't.
No, you are.
Am I?
You are good now.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you. Well, yeah. First of all, I would like to thank the Madam Speaker for very warm words of welcome, but also to say I'm beginning to wonder why we're actually even having this a dialogue here, because after listening to our input, you have said it all. I felt like saying, well, no, I'm picking up my jacket and going home. You have said it all. But anyway, I have a forum, so I can as well take advantage of that. Well, thank you very much. Secondly, just to add also my word of condolences to the late comrade Zenzi, whom I knew very well. During the late 70s and 80s, actually, we had very, very regular communication with her. And I really would like to honor her and mother, especially during this month that she's joining her parents. The second person is also someone, comrade, very close to you. He was murdered last night. That's Comrade Mapiti.
Yes.
Yes. He was murdered last night. We're still waiting for more information. Right. Back to MRM. When Madiba called for the RDP of the soul, we need to bear in mind that Madiba had spent 27 years on Robben Island. And during that time, he had sufficient time to reflect on the performance, especially of liberation movements, not only in South Africa, but particularly in former colonies. And what he discovered was that very often they started very well. The leadership of former liberation movement started very well. They had very high moral standards. And the ethical values, we call them the values of the struggle, were very, 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 very much, in fact, infused in everything that they try to do. But because we're all human beings, after some time, people begin almost to do almost the opposite of what they had actually gone out to achieve, which is in the best interest of the people. They start abusing sometimes their power and abuse of resources that are actually meant, especially for the poorest of the poorest, element also of self-importance and abusing resources for self-enrichment and so on. You know the rest of the stories and so on. So in calling, therefore, for the RDP of the soul, he was not being negative. He was reminding us that we had just emerged from an apartheid era. Apartheid was also corrupt. Apartheid had very unethical leaders, let alone injustices of all forms, disrespect for the majority of the people, oppression, and so on. Now, all those kind of practices were actually deeply immoral and unethical. And therefore, Madiba was saying, please, guys, as we build a new society, a new country, we must try and do away with all the wrongs that apartheid actually did, or at least make a conscious effort to try and avoid falling into exactly the same trip. So it was not a negative call, but very, 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 very positive. Now, some of you who have read Madiba's speeches, which I'm sure you have, you'll remember that in 1997 in Mafeking, during the National ANC conference, he listed quite a good number of social pathologies that already at that time were of deep concern to him. You can go and read that speech. He spent something like 2 hours addressing the issue of moral renewal in his own words and so on, which included corruption, which included abuse of women and children, substance abuse, including murder, loss of life, including all the, in a way, almost abnormal behavior that we experience, especially, unfortunately, today. Already at that time, 1994, 1995, Madiba foresaw that, in a manner of speaking, and he was cautioning us against that. Fast forward, in 2002, the late Cedric Mason and I embarked on a research, kind of a survey. I went around the country, consulting with institutions of learning, with civic organizations, political parties, the media, organized labor, obviously faith-based organizations, so on. In other words, a whole cross-spectrum of members of society, to try and find out from them what they thought actually needed to be done by society in order to address those social pathologies, some of which I've alluded to. And then in 2002, finally, we then launched what is today called the Moral Regeneration Movement, which was the output of 2-3 days consultation involving delegates from all the 9 provinces, young and old, workers, educated people, simple people, black, white, green, politicians, you name them. They were all there. And the issues that we discuss, obviously, I'm not going to bother with too many of them. Just give you a few examples. Question of a disparity of wealth between the rich and the poor, ongoing injustice, the whole issue of education favoring mostly the people, the haves. We discuss issues of youth, of the media, of all the, and the ethical leadership was also one of the most important topics that we discussed. 2 resolutions were taken. One was that MRM must be led and managed by civil society, obviously working hand with government, with other institutions that may be willing and ready to support the work of the, of the MRM. For us, that became very, very important, because what it therefore meant was that the consultation was very inclusive, cut across, as I say, the different sectors of society. But also, we gained a lot of wisdom from that whole exercise. Second resolution was that we needed to identify values, what we called shared values. What do we mean by that? Let me just give you an example. In nearly all the sectors of society that we have, whether they are faith-based organizations, whether they are organized labor, whether they are political parties and formations, you name them. In most cases, you actually find that, yes, indeed, they've got their own values, their own practices, and their own priorities. And from time to time, in fact, quite often, they probably are in conflict with one another when it comes to certain values. Take, for example, the religious sector. of which I'm, that's my background also. The Muslims, the Christians, you name them, the Indian religious organizations, Chinese religious organizations, and so on. Many of them actually went to war. Christians, even among themselves, although they all profess Jesus Christ and so on, some of the most bitterest wars in the world were actually waged by Christians, one Christian group against another. So that, in other words, what we're then saying is that MRM, we needed values which transcended language, culture, race, history, and, in other words, all various organizations. And we identified, after 5 years of hard work, we identified 9 of them. I'll just mention them without any elaboration. One was human dignity and equality. Who would really argue, quarrel about that? Whatever faith or a political ideology you adhere to, I'm sure all will accept that. The second was promotion of responsible freedom, rule of law, and democracy, improvement of material well-being and economic justice, enhancing of sound family and community values, especially in South Africa, where our family structures are practically in tatters, with very, very, very serious consequences for the nation as a whole. The other one was a question of honesty, integrity, loyalty, harmony in culture, belief and respect for people's conscience, respect and concern for all people, striving for justice, fairness, and peaceful coexistence, and finally, the protection of the environment. Who would really quarrel with any of those? So we therefore look for what we call the kind of values that would act as a kind of a glue, social glue, would keep people of various backgrounds and beliefs together. They can still continue with their other priorities. That's fine. That's quite in order and so on. But what we are saying, these were very important because they were the basis of building a new nation after the fiasco of apartheid. That they also had the potential to bring us together, to have a common focus on what needed to be done in order to build this new nation. What we have done, I'm not going to waste your time on that, and save just to mention a couple of examples. In 2008, we then published what is called the Charter of Positive Values, which has become more or less our flagship. It's a basis for everything that MRM does. Secondly, also to point out that if you read the charters, they are not talking about the afterlife, which I'm one of those who promotes that very much as a Christian and so on. But they're talking about the real issues, life issues that concern people here and now, including, for example, in this particular instance, this pandemic that is a concern to us. We cannot, as MRM says, oh, well, that is not really part of our responsibility. We cannot fold our arms when we see hundreds and thousands of people, especially under the lockdown situation, queuing food parcels, practically taking away all their dignity and so on. We cannot fold our arms when so many women and girls are ruthlessly butchered and killed for no other reason other than just being them. So in other words, I'm just saying that some of these examples of social pathologies that as MRM, they all become our business. But from the perspective of the values which are lacking, which we believe that they are the cause, the lack of those values are the cause of the abnormalities that we witness today. We work with universities, with students' organizations. We work with organized labor, at least some of them. We work with government departments. We work with, I can go on, in other words, all sectors of society, we work together with them. Why then is this dialogue important for us, Madam Speaker? Now I'm specifically addressing you. For a short time after I was executive mayor of Tshwane, I acted as the speaker before the council speaker was appointed. What I learned was that, one, following our constitution, all spheres of government, whatever they do, their programs, must be people-centered. Secondly, that local government institutions are at the coalface of service delivery, and that the office of the speaker is actually the one that should give, is the lifeblood of democracy in any municipalities. Why? Because its primary responsibility is to take council, government, into the communities, to the people, to take people, invite people into government so that they actually make an input as is required by the constitution in whatever, in the manner in which they are governed. It's also very important that when we deal with people, we do not treat them more or less as people that are separate from the other three spheres of government, because we have what is called not even just constitutional, but we also have a collaborative government. So although there are three spheres, but it's one government that has to work together. So the issues that may impact on the people, some of them we might be inclined to say, yes, but I mean, education is the sphere of the province, responsibility of province or national and so on. But the least that one can do on the ground is to take the concerns of the people and forward them to the relevant department, whether provincial or national. So that's why, therefore, Madam Speaker, we are absolutely, SMRM, very excited about this initiative. We really would like to honor you. We'd like to work with your department, because you can make a huge difference in the whole of the metro of Johannesburg. Of course, we're looking beyond the mere boundaries of, of metros, of municipal boundaries, and so on and so on. But you can set an example of what it means when people have to work together for a common purpose and a common goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father Mkhatshwa, for those great words. Uyavakala uba unayo experience ye local government. You know that local government is at the coalface of service delivery and everything. Most people don't know that. We really appreciate that. Was really beautiful. Thank you very much. Without waste of time, you spoke about RDP of the soul. You spoke about the importance of moral renewal. You went back, you spoke about the importance of ongoing, of making sure that we deal with the issues of injustice. As you really indicated that although we are a democratic society and we achieved democracy in 1994, however, there is still ongoing injustice in our country and within our society. So now I would call upon Pastor Mohlabane just to say, how do we work towards a compassionate, kind, and morally just society? So what is the role of the faith leaders in making sure that we have a morally just society? So Pastor Mohlabane, who will be followed by Pastor Ginger Nkafu or Reverend Nkafu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to greet everyone, everyone, the panelists, the speaker and her office, and also the viewers in the name of Jesus. I represent faith-based organization Johannesburg. Moral decay is a result of people losing a level of faith in and commitment to a religion. Ethics are believed to be universal to every culture, whereas morals are based on religion. Somewhere, somehow, we have lost it as a nation, we have lost it as a church, and we have lost it as a society. Where did we go wrong? Some of the things we see and hear now were never heard of or seen in those good old days. They were strange and life was so beautiful. Communities were united and did things in unity. The pain of one was the pain of all within the community. Children were nurtured and cared for by the community. The way people got along with each other was such a blessing. Children were allowed to be free and they would enjoy their childhood without fear. Streets were safe and humans didn't act like animals. Something has gone wrong. Parents are now afraid of their own children. Violence has become a norm. Systems that used to work for people are abusing them today. Peace and joy have been substituted with worry and fear. Children are molested. People kill for no reason. We give excuses for everything. Men sexually violate men and we claim it's human rights. Where does such level of moral decay point to? It points to us as faith leaders, as government, that we have failed in our role as moral compass. We have failed as government by removing the Bible studies from school. We have allowed ourselves to be swallowed by the corruption train. We need to account for the negligence of our decisions and leadership. We need to take back our positions as leaders and lead by example. As a result of losing Ubuntu, look at us today with COVID-19. We were alerted at a very early stage. If only we were a listening society or a nation, we wouldn't be where we are today. When it was announced, it was taken as a joke to say coronavirus is infecting only the rich, not those who are eating cabbage and pap, not those who are eating asha and pap. What is the society doing about it? Instead of helping in preaching the wearing of masks and washing hands to our youth, but no, it's not happening. Instead, we are helping them in this problem by not wearing masks ourselves. If you go to our locations, it's business as usual. If it was in those old good days, the society would have stopped this from spreading because their words would have been heard and listened to. Respect for cultural and religious beliefs is no more. We need to restore this Ubuntu. We need to restore this love in our society, and our nation will be a nation that other nations would love to be. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Wow, that was mouthful. Ubuntu. You know, we have identified a problem of moral decay. I think the speakers that will talk after will then say, having said that, having realized that we have distanced ourselves from our roots, we have forgotten about Ubuntu due to what you have alluded to, Mamum Shabane. Although we don't see you, you've hidden your face even when you were speaking. You've hidden your face even when you were speaking. So having said that, I think by the time we end this show, we will be able to say, yeah, we see you now, Mama, thank you so much. We'll be able maybe to have some kind of a way forward to say, what is it that we need to do as a nation, as a people? Mfundis Unkafu, please unmute.
My sincere apology. We are gradually getting there. As you could, with Father Mkhatshwa as well, he had a bit of a challenge. He tells that perhaps at the time when these things came into existence, we were already beyond that level. Allow me to take the opportunity of thanking you, Madam Speaker, Dr. Nyati, Ntate Mkhatshwa, esteemed panel. I think it will be very appropriate for me also to reflect on the values of the lives that we had as comrades Zizi and the other comrade like Ntate Mkhatshwa said, to say may their souls of all the faithfully departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. And also to take the opportunity to thank Bishop Debe. Bishop Debe is the chairperson for a faith-based organization on the South. He's the one who has made it possible for me to come and slot in on his behalf. I also thank the panel, Dr. Nyati, Madam Speaker, Ntate Mkhatshwa, and the organizers to have made it possible for me to be in this forum. It is the very first time that I come and feature at a forum of this magnitude. It is indeed a blessing on my part. Talking about Madiba, he has been an icon not only for Africa, but for the whole world as it is known. A man who led by example. I remember the first time when there was a ANC national conference in the country, he was very reluctant in assuming a leadership position. He was persuaded, eventually took it. There came a time whereby we were to be led by the first democratical party in the country. He was still reluctant in assuming the responsibility of being a president, but eventually took over and he ran with it. He then died after he has amassed a whole lot of wealth for himself or perhaps the family. He never took advantage of that ability of attracting whatever material wealth that he could acquire as a person in life. He at least allowed each of his children, grandchildren, to have a portion whom he has regarded as fair and reasonable. And the rest, he took back again to the nation. Most importantly, the previously disadvantaged nation. Very few people of that magnitude will indeed act in that manner. Those are the good conducts that were to really to learn about people who are assuming positions of leadership. They lead by example, not only by theory. Ntate Mkashwa has already alluded to things of this nature. We do not want to dwell too much on personal characters. Today, we'd like to talk about this coronavirus. I remember when we started to learn about the coronavirus, a small town in the Western Cape, Khayelitsha, we had young men and women who were celebrating and throwing parties as though this was a joke. Those are the moral generations that we expect organizations of Ntate Mkashwa's and the others to be concentrating on in trying to transform the attitude, understanding, and appreciation of not only South African, but people of the globe. Whenever there are troubles that are facing the nation, it would be very appropriate for people to try and do away with them as individuals, but to tend to think as collectives. As I say, I was indeed very blessed to have been given the opportunity to come and also contribute to say, this indeed, it needs me, it needs you, it needs everybody, especially social institutions like churches, companies, to try and communicate this information to as many people as possible, not only to theorize, not only to communicate, but also to allow people to participate actually and physically in that particular process for us to be able to win this pandemic. I don't know if we do have a problem. Can people hear me there?
Very well.
Yes, you are audible. You are audible.
What I think is it will be much better, as we are indeed talking on behalf of the faith-based organization. It would be very appropriate for Dr. Ngati through his office to try and come up with an organogram that will be able to have structures that ensures that he touches with as many institutions as possible that will be in a position to assist through his trainings to be able to go and retrain the other people for them to be able to spread this. Madam Speaker, my concern was, as we're coming on public, I could realize, not including myself nor the speaker, we had no masks. We may be having some serious problems today or tomorrow by the presidents to say, we are indeed addressing people, but we are not leading by examples. I was just trying to say that in passing. I know that you are on your own, we are on our own, hence you do not, but people has to take this thing very serious. As and when they are interacting with other people, they must ensure that they do have their masks on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tatunkafu, and thank you very much for reminding not only us, but the nation about the importance of wearing masks. Mask. We have to lead by example. Thank you very much, Doc. I'm assuming that we will end at past. So I want to use this opportunity. Dr. Nyati spoke about stigmatization. I want us to link the stigma and Ubuntu, because I think that if we were a nation that has Ubuntu, a nation that has not lost its morals, a nation eti intlungu yomnye umuntu nami yeyam, a nation umamumhlaba nathethe ngayo that raises abantwana bayo, its children, on the values and the principles of Ubuntu. Ngaba asinayo lento yokustigmatize abantu xa besengxakini or abantu xa begula. So I would allow umama uNonqaba Msunkuthu, who is not only a pastor, but who is also a health professional, uMatron Msunkuthu, just to talk about the two and the link on the two, and maybe give us a way forward, Yoba, as abantu, as a nation, to go back to our roots. zobuntu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Nkosi. Thank you, Madam Chair, no Father Mkachwa, Doc, and other speakers, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think the topic is very, very profound, more especially on COVID and moral values of the society. I've already posed a question to the Doc about the stigmatization of COVID-19, saying to him, I don't understand and I'm worried the extent of which this COVID-19 is increasing in Gauteng. Is it not because people now are afraid to come out to say, I have COVID-19? Instead, they stay at home, and by the time they realize that it has ravaged all the organs, it becomes very, very late because of stigmatization. But the doctor answered me. And also, I don't understand why there is a stigma on COVID-19, because it's just a natural pandemic. No one knows how it started. I know there is a dialogue of saying where it started, but I don't know what that will bring to us as people, because in terms of the treatment and dealing with it in a non-drug therapy type of a situation, because for now there are no drugs. So what we have now is just the regulations as stipulated: wash your hands, keep social distance, stay at home, all those things. So what I don't understand is the issue of stigmatization, because anyone can have it. And what we need to do is to comply. And I pray to God that we should definitely get a cure of this disease, because it is killing our people right, left, and center. I mean, in Gauteng, if per day we have the infections of 1,000 or 3,000, then there is a cause for concern. And also in terms of the moral values, I think the moral values, Dr. Mkachwa, depends on an individual. It starts with me as an individual, because I think the values, the traits, and the culture of the society, it should be directed by you as an individual, because values cut across everything. We spoke about the values at school. Today we had a session, a Gauteng legislature, of the roles of interfaith in dealing with COVID-19, in dealing with gender-based violence, and so forth. So when you look at the moral decay, I said this thing starts at home, or starts with an individual. As an individual, you have to be able to say to yourself, this is how I want to live. I don't want to abuse a person. I don't want to abuse women or children. So what we need to do, we need to inculcate the spirit of Ubuntu, as it has already been mentioned, and the spirit of Batupili, you know, ubhuti wami ngubhuti wakho, umamami ngumamakho, umntanakho ngumntanami. But the way things are happening, Father Mkachwa, I will want to agree with you that we need to revive MRM. It helped us in the 80s and coming forward when you started and others. And the resolution that we made today, a legislature, in relation to gender-based violence vis-a-vis the values and MRM, was to say, we are requesting them to reinstate MRM ASAP in all the regions, in province and nationally. So I think we are on the correct path, Comrade Speaker, to say the question of morality and also the social ills, because all these social ills impact on the economy, mental health, reproductive health, and so forth. So my submission will be to say, let's bring back a moral regeneration movement from the council to province to national. I thank you for giving me this opportunity, Madam Speaker. Diabulela.
Wow, wonderful. I know uba abantu be health bafana ne politicians. When you give them platform, they always have something to say and they don't leave the mic. Thank you very much for being so short and sweet. Andithi Doc injalo lento.
Injalo.
Okay, let's hear from before I hand over to you, Doc, to give other speakers and other panelists a platform. Let me also welcome omnye wabefundisi. Andimazi noba uphumile nakukho umfundisi endimbonile apha umfundisi uRhololo. Pastor Mamuru Rhololo, you are most welcome, ma. And these are leaders of faith in Johannesburg. We really appreciate your support. We know that you are working very hard in making sure that our citizens of Johannesburg are saved. Let's hear from our viewers, from Sipho. Sipho, do you have any comments or questions from our viewers? Then I'll hand over to Doc to co-chair.
Madam Speaker, Sipho is experiencing problems with his network, so I'm going to take over this segment today.
Okay.
Okay, so there are a few comments online. They're not necessarily questions, they are more comments of appreciation. So I'm going to read about one or two of them. So the first one says, thank you, Ntate Mkhatshwa. People have changed to be animals. We have lost Ubuntu. Pido Tache says, the restoration of the African family is the restoration of the African nation. United we stand and divided we fall. And then maybe let me read one more. Okay, the one says the RDP of the soul is very key. And then the last one, our country needs moral regeneration as Ubuntu is our cornerstone, and that is from Mayor Abigail Ndlovu. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Doc?
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. We need to hear from other, panelists.
Yes.
Maybe we should start with the chair of chairs, Umamu Salfina, for her to also just share her wisdom around the issues around moral regeneration and issues of social stigmatization of people with COVID.
Thank you, Dr. Nyati. We are having a very interesting debate talk today. And Madam Speaker and Dr. Nyati, I was thinking of this issue of stigmatization, that the way we really do it, we are really stigmatizing COVID-19. We do. And doing it, you can see when you find that when somebody gets diseased through COVID-19 related diseases, then you find that going to a funeral, people sort of are sort of afraid to go there. Or when I go there, Nami, I might be infected, irrespective of the fact that that you need to be looking after yourself, having your sanitizers, putting on your mask. But the mere fact that they say Kambole, somebody is COVID positive, we even are afraid to go and hoyoduduza. We lose our Ubuntu. So asisanabo ubuntu bokuthi ngoba ngapha abantu balahlekelwe ngobuntu thina we always go and give condolences to people mabashonelwe as families, as our friends. But these days we don't do it, irrespective of the fact that we know that going to funerals you cannot be about 40 or 50 and whatever the number the regulations are giving us. But even during the week, asawazi ukuya, because we say kusanitiziwe laphana. That thing is there. It's how do we then try and change and say, even though kushoniwe laphana, we can even go and say asambeni, how do we go in there kuleya family, because this person was in there, babembheka, bemgeza, bemfida, egula. So all of a sudden, siyasaba na ukuthi ha ke bua mo le nna ke tla be ke affecta my family. And it goes around again to say, with civic education that we are talking about, we need to try, Madam Speaker, you know, our programs of civics educations, and try and say, maybe if we can even have the way we had done previously, to have, you know, now because a lot of people are found to be positive, quite a number of people that are willing to come and say, I was diagnosed COVID positive the other day, and then I have completed my 14 days. What is it that that person did healthy again and back to normal? Try and get those people, Madam Speaker. We have quite a number of them, people that we can relate to, you know, not this thing, you know, you find on social media, we'll have pictures on WhatsApp and what of people talking about it, but we cannot relate to them because maybe we do not really know them. Like if you go out there, you are a person that is known, and then you go out there, you tell people, I was diagnosed on this day, this is what I was doing. You know, people will tell you, baya food, they go and steam. People will tell you that they are taking umhlonyane. People will tell you all those things. Those things, you know, sharing people how you fought and struggled and made it a point that you came out of it. And Madam Speaker, even at Nasema Sontweni, there's the live streaming of churches. Do we have a program, maybe a 10, 15, 20 minutes time where we say, Manja, we are going to tell people about putting on a mask all the time? And then maybe in the church, there's somebody now who was found positive, and that person sharing testimonies of how I went through this journey. Storytelling of people that we know. Like those, you remember, Khale, we were used to sit around the fire and tell stories, and you never forget them. So if we bring people maybe that we know, that we can, you know, relate to, telling the story of their journey to us, you know, and maybe that way, the stigma, because I know it takes time for stigma to really go at all, and try and say, like we are in Johannesburg, who in Johannesburg has been positive, who in Johannesburg has gone through this, and give people support. The support that we give to people will be civic education a lot, and making a point that we don't really get, you know, I know it's threatening, it's what, but trying by all means to say the relationship that we create with our people becomes a much better. And Ubuntu, we practice it, we make sure that people confess, we make sure that we talk about it, because if we do not talk about it, sizologo sibanale stigma, we will always have it. You remember how HIV started, but today people are going to the clinics, Bayafola, they take their ARVs, and it's not that much stigmatized anymore. And I think that will be my input on that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Dr. Nyati.
All right. Can we also hear from Comrade Mfikwe, TD Mfikwe, you know, a few words around, you know, how she sees us dealing with the issue of stigmatization of people who have tested positive or their family members, and the issue of moral regeneration. Comrade Mfikwe. Comrade Mfikwe. Okay, we will move to Niha Bahadur. Niha Bahadur. Yes, thank you very much.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, yes.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to reiterate that the stigmas come from the lack of community and the differing the differing opinions that everyone has regarding COVID, and I think that everyone must be united in knowing in knowing in knowing exactly the issues of COVID, so that we know how to address them. And I think right now the communication aspect of how the people, how much the people know about COVID is the issue, because there haven't been clear-cut instructions or opinions, I might say, about the effects of COVID and how to deal with, for example, there hasn't been anything regarding, or there's very little regarding for example, the impacts that sorry, I'm just looking for the word, the air filtration system and things, and air circulation has on the spread of COVID. So I think that people need to be more aware, and specifically the government needs to deal with a media campaign that will inform everyone in South Africa in the correct ways in which people must go about dealing with this crisis. And yes, so basically, my point is that communication is extremely important, and the media needs to play an important role, because people are very confused, and there are a lot of conflicting messages being sent about how people are supposed to be dealing with COVID. And a lot of people are in the dark because they don't know how to wear their masks. They don't know what exactly what exactly the precautions that need to be taken in order to deal with this. And I just feel that media plays an important role, and it is not being dealt with in an appropriate manner, and it is not going to communities such as the outer reaching townships that do not have access to technology, that cannot access, for example, information about new released medical opinions and research regarding the developments of the COVID research. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. I know that you are chairing now, but Neha, please introduce yourself, because we didn't even see your face. Please introduce yourself.
My camera function isn't working for some reason.
It's fine.
Yeah, I'm the media and communications officer from the Moral Regeneration movement.
Wow.
I joined them in April last year, and yes, so my focus is basically surrounding the media. And as I said, I just feel that the media campaign at the moment is really lacking in terms of people not knowing what is going on, because there is not enough posters, infographics going around regarding the medical research or the new medical research that is being done.
Okay.
Thank you, Neha. And then can we also hear quickly from Neo Chaka? Then I'll hand over back to you, speaker. Oh, okay. Utatum Kachwa would like to have a quick one.
Okay.
To you,
very
Father.
briefly, Doctor, thank you very much. You've already addressed
Go ahead, Father.
one issue which I thought is probably plays a
Go
very
ahead, Father.
important. You can't hear me. You can't hear me.
It seems to have frozen. Go ahead.
Unmute, Father. Okay, you have muted now. Unmute, Father.
Yes. He closed himself. Yeah. Please unmute, Father. Just press once.
That's what I've done.
Yes, you are good now.
Or am I?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, just two quick points. One, you have already addressed ignorance
Yes.
as playing a very important role in this, because people fear the unknown.
Yes.
Or they fear something because they're not very clear. I think Neha is good, is spot on to
Yes.
say that because communication is not adequate, and that's why then there is this stigma. Let me also then add that we need probably more than just communication. I like the term conscientization, because conscientization means, yes, first of all, the raw information, but packaged in such a way that it moves people to act. I think that is very important. For me, the second point that I want to make is the role that so far is being played by people, by very prominent people in government, your ministers, Vavi, and so on, those kinds of people. The fact that on their own, they've come out and told the nation that, look, this is what has happened to us, we are dealing with it. I think that would go a long way towards assisting in the destigmatization, of this thing. And one reason why people also attach a lot of stigma to HIV and AIDS was partly ignorance, but also the fact that people were a bit embarrassed to declare themselves, because they knew that the only way of actually getting it, at least as generally speaking, but through sexual interaction. And some people are probably embarrassed by that. So therefore, quite apart from a fear of the disease, but there was also that element that prompted people or discouraged people from coming out and so on. And finally, on my side, I think it's important to remind people that even lepers, they are created in the image of God. However, it riddled with disease or any kind of ailment and so on, those people are still having the image of God, and therefore they deserve respect and support from us.
Thank you very much, Father we'll go back quickly to Neo.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nyati. My name is Neo Chaka from the Moral Regeneration Movement. Just off the cuff, my thoughts on the topic that we are having today around moral regeneration and destigmatization of COVID-19. And especially linking it to the legacy of our former statesman, Madiba. It reminds me of how we ended up viewing him as the father of the nation, because we are today faced with an enemy that, first of all, we cannot see. We are faced with an enemy that we do not understand. We are faced with an enemy that is, not only are we fighting that enemy called COVID-19, but it is inconveniencing a lot of families in our country. Today, I was watching the news where they were breaking down the job losses according to the sectors. They were breaking down the job losses according to gender. They were breaking down the job losses according to the poor, the middle class, and the rich, and so on and so forth. Now, the other challenge that COVID-19 has brought is that, and we've seen this on the news, where people are saying Instead of staying at home with my kids and starving, I'd rather risk myself to go outside and go find food for my children, because I cannot stay with my children starving and crying to me. So that is why I'm saying, taking all of that into account and talking about the legacy of Madiba, one just thinks or one just remembers him as being the father of the nation in terms of the calls that he made, the calls such as RDP of the soul, calls such as unity, calls such as a non-racial country. And in fact, we would even remember that even before he even became president, during the days of the apartheid, he even said that he's prepared to die for those ideals. So we in a way, we need to, as a country, start realizing that, and I think this is what COVID-19 is teaching us, to say, first of all, we cannot move South Africa forward, or we cannot develop our country if we are not united. We cannot develop our country if we do not have the values such as respect for human dignity and equality, the values such as ensuring harmony in our societies and so on. Because this is a point in our country where not only government, but the private sector and all other sectors of our society. I mean, we've seen reports where the taxi industry says that they want to load taxis to 100% capacity. But you think to yourself to say, what then happens to this faceless enemy that we are fighting if we are going to be crying about us not making enough money, us not making this, us not doing that? So this is a time really as a country where we really need to unite. This is a time where as a country, the word Ubuntu or the philosophy of Ubuntu, it's not only in theory, but this is a time where it has to manifest itself, and it has to be seen that we take care of each other, we respect each other, and we are one nation and one people. That would be my 2 cents worth contribution. Thank you, Program Director.
All right. Can I hand over to you, Speaker? Yeah, and then you can decide who must give closing remarks. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Doc, and thank you very much to all the participants for your contribution. I hope that our viewers and our people in the city of Johannesburg are really benefiting from this show. And maybe before I hand over to Nhlaga to take few comments, I want to apologize to our viewers that this show is every Wednesday, but we shifted it yesterday to today. So we really apologize for that inconvenience. Next week, we'll go back to our Wednesday 4 o'clock time. And thank you very much for your comments. Ours is about civic education, is to make sure that our citizens are empowered. The city of Johannesburg citizens are empowered, especially during this time of COVID, and they understand this disease and its implications more than ever before. This is an invisible enemy, as you said, and we all have to join hands in fighting in fighting against it. But what is important is that we must not forget our roots as a people. Ubuntu. Nhlaga, do we have any comments quickly before we do the closing remarks?
Yes, Madam Speaker. In the interest of time, I'll just go through 2. So Zonke Feb Mamingala says, indeed, people are dying of hunger and depression at SA Express. And then there's one from Nongeba Nkonziwe. She says, Honorable Speaker and your collective, keep up the good work. We are watching your continuous engagements with communities that you lead as a public representative. Sharing knowledge is the most important aspect that must be applauded. The work that you are doing cannot just go unnoticed. Malibongwe, we shall overcome, we shall defeat the invisible tiny enemy. We shall recover, we shall prosper. That's all from my side. Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Because of time, may I quickly ask Father Smangaliso Mkachwa just to do the closing remarks. And from then I'll hand over to the Chair of Chairs.
Very briefly, Comrade Speaker. The report that was given by Councillor oh gosh, no, is it? No, oh my God, I know she is in the office. Pardon? Yes. For me, it summarizes everything. If we agree in principle that we really need to reinvigorate, and in some instances almost to start afresh with the MRM, to make it vibrant, to make it sustainable, I think that summarizes it, because then the actual logistics and project, that can be left to the office and your office, our office, to see that in practical terms, how does this translate into reality? Because what we need is no longer speeches, but action, so that whatever engagement we have, they are based on something that is happening on the ground. And thank you very much once again, Comrade Speaker, for inviting us. We really feel very honored, and we are ready to move.
Thank you very much, Father Mkachwa. I just want to assure you that we shall work together. We shall join hands with the Moral Regeneration Movement and all other organizations that are there to make the lives of our people different for the better. So ours is about the people. So we will be joining hands and working together with yourselves. My apologies to other panelists because of time. I won't be able to give all of you time to do your closing remarks, except Dr. Nyati, do you want to wrap up a few words?
You know, maybe instead of me, speaker, just give a minute to Mr. Nkafu, you know, the chair of chairs, and yeah.
And other panelists. Okay, so we are given some few minutes. I was looking at the time that we were supposed to close at past. All right, Mr. Nkafu, just 1 minute wrap up words.
Yes, one other thing which I think it is very important, it may have been taken care of, I may not be aware of, is people who are being contaminated by this disease. It's like we do not have any mechanism or means to go and decontaminate the places where they reside, because I believe this thing has a tendency of existing for a number of hours. So if somebody is been isolated at his place and he recovers, but nothing has been done about it, I think it may create a vicious circle whereby it still reinfects people and himself as well. I know it could be a very expensive exercise, but if Dr. Nyati can apply his mind to it to see if we cannot really come up with some economic means that will still make us to be able to reach out for that services.
Okay, thank you very much, Mamu Shabane. Just 1 minute closing remark. Pastor Mshaban.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Just to say, the spirit of fear is the first killer before the actual death. So we need more testimonies of those who have been there, you know, the ones who survived, the survivors, because the Bible says they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. So we'll overcome. Testimonies are the key. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mam Fikwe was not there when she was called. I'm not sure whether she's back. Okay.
I'm here, Madam Speaker.
Oh, okay. You now have 1 minute for closing remarks. You were called before, but I think you had a connection problem.
Yes, there was a bit of a breakdown there, but thank you very much. Let me appreciate the presentations made by Ndatem Kacha and Osnongaba, as well as all the speakers that spoke. We as a nation, as a community, we need to come back and resuscitate our own morals and deal with our degeneration. So we appreciate this engagement, and we believe that together, as Ndatem Kacha was saying, we will be able to come back to where we are, who we are, Ubuntu being infused into our communities. So I care about a village rears up a child, not individuals. So we need to go back to those steps. COVID is showing us that we do need each other. We must work with each other so that we're able to protect and save our residents and our communities. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. Hoping that, as I always say, that this work of yours opens up our eyes and shows that we need each other for us to be able to survive and live for tomorrow. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mfikwe. Chair of Chairs, please close the show for us and for our viewers.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I won't take long due to time, but I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the speaker to thank all our panelists. Thank you very much. You shared very important knowledge and you have empowered us a lot around the issues that were raised and the topics that you talked to. Madam Speaker, thank you very much for having your weekly programs. They assist a lot and we really love them. And you know, sizoba nesithukuthezi masingekho, you know, just bheke izolo ngithi hayi akunalutho namhlanje. And you know, when it comes on Thursday, now you know that hey, so it's something that we are now getting used to. Dr. Nyati, our partner, siyabonga. Keep it up, keep up the good work that you are doing for our communities. Johannesburg is very proud to have a person like you who is very passionate about issues of the communities. I would like to thank all our pastors. I'm not going to mention you by name, but you know, we always work with you. We see you all the time for our communities. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Father Mkashwa, thank you very much. You have been there. We have been working with you, Igule, Moral Regeneration. You have been there. You have led a lot around our communities. Thank you very much. Ama input and your knowledges. Thank you very much that you shared with us. The Office of the Speaker, the staff of the Office of the Speaker. Thank you, Ntlaka and Sipo. You are always there. You always make us and push us and try and make it a point that we do our work well. Thank you very much. And Councillor Mfikwe, thank you. You are always there. We are all, the support that you give our legislature. Thank you very much. You are always there. I know you are part and parcel of the legislature. You are always there when we want you. Everywhere we want Councillor Mfikwe colleagues, Councillor Mfikwe will be there. I don't know how she does it, but she always does it. She's always there whenever she's needed. And may God bless you. And through your prayers, pastors, I know we are going to win this. We will conquer this virus that is there. Thank you, Madam Speaker. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone, as you have already thanked everyone. Dr. Nyati, siyabulela.
Enkosi maqineba.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Father Smangaliso Mkachwa and your team from Moral Regeneration Movement. Thank you so much. Thank you to you, Chair of Chairs. Okay, good night. Bye-bye. The show is over. And
thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Bye.
Good night. Bye.
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 Men are about to live.
Yeah. I'm going to sit on the driveway.
Oh.
Ah, she-
Ona na rututi